All right. Well, some of y'all have been asking for a complete solo session end to end. So let's delve into it. This is, you're going to need the RipCrypt core, Dungeon Sprint core for this. Probably going to want, I like this grid. It's a 20 pound from Beam Thing. It's got a nice larger grid than, some of the smaller grids can get a little tedious. I like to just move fast and break things. So I just use a Sharpie because it's easy to see on camera. Sometimes I use, more sophisticated tools, but for camera work, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And yeah, you're gonna want some delve dice. So I like to use like a lighter color for the hourglass. I do think having them different colors really helps. A conditions die, so just for the current difficulty, and one of these direction d8s for fate. And we only use north, east, southwest on this. So I'll roll a d8, like, 5, and that's going to be south. So we just flip to south, and that way it's easily readable at the table. So yeah, you've got your pen, you've got your d8s, 3 to 4 d8s, and that's pretty much everything you need to get started. All right, let's pull all this out of here. So we're going to start with some delve tools here. Grab one of your sheets. I like to work in landscape. Just see if we can get everything to fit here. And yeah, grab your Sharpie and a couple dice. So we're going to start down here with our conditions and our cartography. So you can choose any of these. These are tools, right? So use them how you will. If you like to keep everything pure and random, do that. If you just want to reference these things and make decisions, that's fine too. But yeah, we're just going to go with a cartography of unfamiliar. So we'll say our conditions, unfamiliar. And we're going to set our trial difficulty. I'm going to set it to normal for 5, since we're going to have a couple heroes that, a couple novice heroes that we're going to run through this. All right. So once we have conditions, next we need an opening. And there's a table here on page 68 with all sorts of options for you. And with these tables, you roll 3d8, you add that together, and you kind of just go column by column. So for our opening, we'll start with, we got 8. So just like to write this all down as I go. Opening. And we hit an 8. So we've got a carriageway. And this is where, right, it can be like, well, that's not quite fitting into what I had for the story I'm thinking about. So let's try again. So what? 17 mineshaft. That sounds cooler. Go with mineshaft. And some features for this mineshaft. You can roll more than one if you want to. We've got a crypt. Cool. There's a crypt. An ancient crypt in the mineshaft. And what's our tune? 10. Devastated. What else? Let's roll for tone again. I'm just curious. Oh boy, sometimes I'm bad at math. 15, intricate. And I don't like that either. Okay, we'll stick with devastated. Conditions, what, 17, recent and reliable. See, that doesn't quite fit with devastated, so we're gonna roll it again. We got 12, foul and rank. That's better. I like it. All right. So with these keywords, right, that just gives you a vibe for the opening to the story. So we have this ancient mine shaft that's been devastated and is foul and rank that contains an ancient crypt. Okay, cool. We have some sort of setting, right, or opening. And next we need an objective. So like, why are our heroes here? What's the deal, yo? And for this one, you just roll a d8 for each. So what do we get? 5, hide, eh, 8, repair. Oh, that's interesting. If it's devastated, maybe the heroes need to get in and repair, right? So these things start fitting in. So we've got repair, roll for a subject. I mean, we're just gonna jump to place because there's some area in this mine shaft that has devastated that's causing a problem. And we can probably assume that like that's there's either a reward or a threat that's trying to be avoided. Let's go with threat. So yeah, the heroes want to prevent a shaft, right, from this mine that's been devastated from collapsing, because maybe it's blocking access to, usually it's access to water or resources that are needed. So this is important. It just helps kind of get the story formulated, to jump in before we start putting rooms together, and gives you a sense really fast, right? For like, what's the vibe of the story? Why is everyone here? What are we doing? And yeah. So what did that take? I don't know, 5 minutes, 3 minutes. And yeah, from there, we just jump right into crypts. And there's some guidelines here. Again, these are tools, so use them as you wish. Um, I may take a few liberties here. I might roll a few things. But, yeah, because this is a mine shaft, I wanna keep that in mind while I design the rooms. Like, there's probably some sort of long winding tunnel involved, right? So we should probably start with that. Maybe that expands into a chamber and some rooms and so on. So we'll factor that in, but you can see how just having this opening story and objective really kinda helps set the stage. So we'll just throw like a couple corridors down. Maybe this is where our heroes descend. There's maybe a twist or two in this long shaft. And from there, yeah, so we're like, okay, we need some sort of chamber or a corridor. Maybe we'll just expand it. Yeah, we'll go a little wider here. And let's see. Yeah, let's roll for content here. I think maybe there's a natural hazard, right? This is where I use my slightly smaller Sharpie just so I can fit things in, but we'll put a hazard in here. And let's roll a room. So I'm gonna roll D8. We got large. So there's a large, this expands into a large chamber, which is kind of cool. So maybe this opens up. And here you can see, for large rooms, that's like 9 by 12. That's a pretty big room. but because this is a mine shaft, I'm gonna keep it a little more conservative. Um, Maybe we'll go one more on that. All right. So, and then it's like, okay, we've got some hazard. What's in this room? Are there any doorways, right? And this is where we can roll. It's like, okay, there's no doors. We can re-roll if we want any of this. Is there something special? Is this a chamber? It says a stronghold, which is kind of interesting. Maybe there's an armory here. Um, so we'll just put armory. And are there yeah, so there's some hostiles guarding an armory here. And you want to take some time with your rooms just to really think about what the contents of that room, what's in there, right? So that as the heroes advance, what's going to go down. And from there, so we've got this winding chamber. Maybe there's also a crack in the back here that the heroes have to discover. So we'll say there's a secret door here in the back that leads to another corridor. We'll roll this one just for fun. So yeah, another long corridor. And I've been asked, like how long should corridors be? Like you know, think of it this way, like your heroes, they're gonna move between 4 and 8 spaces per tour, and maybe up to 16 if they're really moving fast. But I like to stick with, between 4 to 6. It seems to be a pretty good sweet spot for, because you're not just sprinting like through spaces the entire game, right? Like you're going to pause, you're going to check for traps, you're going to investigate, you're going to search, you're going to role play. And so you're not just, flying through everything. Um, Maybe there's a T here at the end. That seems reasonable with a couple doorways. I'm just going to throw some doors in and we'll roll up another couple rooms. So what have we got? 5. Yeah, we got a medium room. We'll just throw, maybe it's kind of something like that, and I'm not like spending an eternity here. I'm just really trying to kind of sketch this out, just get a sense for what's what. And maybe right here is actually, I don't know, this little junction here feels like that might actually be our objective, which is the place where repair is needed. So we're going to call this our objective right here. There's maybe a collapse that they need to clear. So they've got to get past these hostiles, clear this, and there's probably reinforcements, right, in both these rooms. And so we're gonna maybe put a guarded sentry in this hallway. There's a sentry here. There's probably some hostiles here and here. And yeah, I think for what we're doing with some novice, we just want to get in. Um, and yeah, this corridor also probably continues this way. And I kind of like to leave some sort of affordance, for the next adventure, right? It's like we resolve this objective, but this story continues right down this corridor, and that gives us something to lead into um, with our next story. So hopefully, y'all can see all that. Pretty straightforward, though, right? Like this is in like I don't know, what does the camera say? 12 minutes, okay, with all of my rambling. Um, we've got a full setup. We've got a rough idea of our map, what we're up against, what's what in terms of the storyline, who's populating this. And yeah, I mean, for y'all, sometimes, it's a question about like, okay, what are these hostiles? And, there are tools in here to, determine, if you want to use tables for your hostiles here, you can roll, right? You could roll 3d8 and what we got 9, 10, 11, 12. So you could have some ghast, right? So this could be like an undead vibe. You could go there. Um, yeah, what do we got? 20. So yeah, it could be slab crabs. Like there's like this natural, which would fit pretty well into the theme of a mine, right? You've got this area is rich with minerals, and there's these lurking crabs in here feeding off of those residual minerals, and they maybe burrowed through the corridor, which has caused a chasm to open up and a collapse, right? So you can work with the hostiles to help build your story. Um, and in my case, I'm just going to run what I've got minis for. I've got like some cool little Mingrin and maybe a couple other small surprises to throw at our heroes. So yeah, I've got a little bit of an idea what I'm going to throw at the heroes here. So yeah, with that, that's pretty much our crypt creation. We're good to go. I'm not going to go through hero creation in detail with this because I've got a few videos that do that I think pretty well. So I'm going to go grab our heroes and we'll come back and jump into. Yeah, I got to come up with a cool name for this. So let me think about that when we come back. Came up with I think it's a cool name. We're going to go with Gravefall. It's like what, the second day of autumn or something. So, and also was thinking, yeah, with this area here that's naturally beginning to collapse that the heroes need to repair is the objective that makes sense because they want to preserve access to a sacred crypt, right? So there's, in the next delve, we can explore the crypt. Maybe there's some sovereign leader of the North that is buried here. And so, yeah, it's been infiltrated with neglect, and the heroes are going to come in and clean it up. All right, let's get it done. Gravefall. All right, before we jump into this, just real quick, this is one of these nerdy things I like to do. I make little doodads here and there. This is my little folio that I made out of like, basically just like one of those peachy folders that yeah, you just cut it out and it's pretty cool because you've got your little crypt journal, right? I do like to journal when I solo play. I'm not going to do it on video for this just because that'll slow everything down. But it's nice to have a spot, where you can take notes. And then yeah, I've got this little folder, right, with like just a little, I don't know how you say it. Is it lectrum? It's German. German people. How do I say this? Anyway, yeah. And yeah, you've got your cards ready to go right here. I do like to also print out some of the baddies just on cardstock, right? So I've got them ready to go. And yeah, here we've got Sloan of the North, of course. We've got Arwen of the East. And we're going to introduce Jonah of the West and play with some Glim in this. And then I've got a couple quick reference cards, and I do need to get these out in PDF format so folks can grab these. They're pretty useful, especially for solo. But yeah, we grabbed some minis. There's Jonah. Here's Sloan. Here's Arwen. And yeah, we've already made a awesome mess. But let's put some of this back. And yeah, you got to have a pencil or something Um, real quick, real quick for folks that I also have these. I just got this friction pen from Pilot, and I think it's called the YWAAI. They're pretty cool because you get like ink vibes, but yeah, they're erasable. So, on the back, when you're like, all right, I use my rations, right? You can cross things out, just like a pencil, and erase them. So that's another tool that I have found pretty useful. Anyway, all right, we're going to set up our delves. So we're going to start here. Let me use this card. It can be kind of handy. We'll throw it up here in the corner. And we're going to set our hourglass to 8. We're going to set conditions we decided are going to be normal for a 5. And then we're going to roll for fate. And we roll to west. So, west. And then we drop our heroes in. I like to drop them in. Then we'll go north. And kind of in fate order, helpful, especially in narrow corridors. So yeah, our heroes are descending the stairs, and let's put our actions card up over here where we've got room. And I think we're ready to jump into this. Okay. So folks who are unfamiliar, this is a RipCrypt. We're playing through a dungeon sprint, and I'm going to run all of this solo. And so this is for both new players to the game and folks who, are interested in running RPGs solo. And in the game, we start with an hourglass. This tracks our delve tours as we descend into darkness. Conditions represents really the environment and how difficult, and this is used for trial actions. So when the heroes attempt to take action against the environment, this will be their target. And fate really determines both the turn order, like who acts first, and also gives players aligned what's called edge, which is reduces the difficulty for their actions for that tour. And here you can see each hero has an alignment with fate. So Jonah is of the west. We rolled west to start. So Jonah would take first action and would also be aligned with fate, receiving edge. So Jonah's move is 4, and so we'll move up. And I like to sort of progressively disclose um, our layout as heroes descend. And just for a reference, here's our map again, right? We're basically just mirroring what we already outlined for Gravefall. And as Jonah traverses into the darkness, we're just going to make some room here. Right? These tiles are from Dragon's Rest. I am in no way affiliated with Dragon's Rest. I am just a huge fan of their stuff. And I mean, they have magnets. Like, this is cool, right? Makes this kind of system a lot easier to run. So yeah, as Jonah rounds this corner, right, we have visibility down this bleak and miserable hallway, and we can smell the foul rank of just this horrible stench of decay starts wafting up the chamber, and it's really quite awful. And it's clear that this is a very ancient place. And Jonah, I like to put cards in sort of fate order, right? Just helps with turns. And yeah, as Jonah peers down this hallway, she can hear this skittering and this sneeching. There's just this eerie, creepy, echoing, skittering feet through wet moss, echoing up the hallway. And as she turns this corner, sees these beady eyes just staring at her in the darkness. And we have some inhabitants awaiting our heroes. In RipCrypt, we flip a coin to see who initiates. So I'm going to flip, and in this case, heroes initiate. Yeah, Jonah is going to start being aligned with fate. And what are we going to do, Jonah? We've got some glim, we've got range. We haven't moved in the combat sprint. So in combat sprints, you get 2 actions. You can take a third with angst, which gives you a morale effect, but it's pretty early on to be taking morale. So I think, yeah, we're going to go with darts. Yeah, we can target this critter with darts. And so the way this works, we compare, uh, yeah, Glim is used for Glimcraft. And what we're missing here is, there we go. Yeah, we're introducing a new critter here, the Rask, which has no Glim. Um, and Jonah's got a Glim of 2. And so we got 2 or more, right? We got right into what's called a rival action. So when we're targeting another entity or creature, another hero, an NPC, what have you, when it's mano y mano, we compare our scores. So we're going to compare Glim here, Jonah's Glim of 2 to the Rask's Glim of 0. And if they're the same or above, right, the target is going to be easy. And in this case, um, Jonah has edge because we're aligned with fate. So we roll 2 dice for the Glim, and we need 3 or better to target this Rask here who's peering. And look at that. See, we missed, and we have a potential crypt. So we're going to re-roll this. If we roll another one, action crypts, which would be a miscast in this case. But fortunately, the action just fails. And we're going to attempt again because we get 2 actions. And we got 1 success. And what's interesting about Glim is it ignores armor. And so we don't have to roll hit location. Darts does 1 damage. This Rask has 3 guts. So it is going to take 1 point of damage. And that is Glimcraft right there. Bingo bango. No rule book. We didn't have to crack anything. You just got to kind of know what you picked for your hero. And turns then move to the north. So west, the compass resets. We move back to north, in which case Sloan is going to move. And Sloan really is pretty bad with a mace. So we're going to run for our first action. Bingo. And yes, heroes can get past each other in the hallway, like we don't get into that nonsense. And take a swing with the mace at this Rask. And so for this rival action, we're going to compare grit. So we've got 2 to 1. We get 2 dice, and that makes our target a 4. In this case, it's a 4 because we are not aligned with fate. And Sloan misses. Wow. These dice are not working in the hero's favor so far. Yeah, Arwen's going to advance into this square here, this space, and sort of lean down the hallway and take a shot with the longbow at this guy. And with ranged actions, or ranged shooting, we're going to use gate. So we're going to pair a gate of 2 to a gate of 2. The Rask has, they're pretty quick. And so they also have the trait of stealth, which makes them difficult because they're a small target, or, they can scurry and hide easily in this case. And so that's going to, with a ranged attack, drag. So normally 2 to 2, the target would be 5. In this case with drag, it's going to increase to 6. And without any edge from fate, we roll 2d8, needing 6s. And look at that, bingo bango, 2 successes. So in this game, when you have 1 success, you hit with 2, you get an extra, you do 1 point of extra damage. If you have 3 or more successes, it's 2 extra damage. And then you also get to choose the location. But in this case, we're going to roll location, which is a 4. 4 is going to strike the arms or the feet of the Rask. And yeah, with no armor, that's 3 damage from a longbow. So thunk, this Rask is no longer of the world. Yeah. And normally, with glory, what we would be doing here, and this is part of the journaling aspect, is we would be tracking damage taken and received. So in this case, well, first Jonah did 1 point of damage, and then Arwen did 3. And so we would be tracking that for glory to award at the end of our delve here. It is time for the Rasks to engage, being of the south. So hostiles in this game also have an alignment with fate. And we're going to swarm in here. And just like heroes, hostiles can move past, right? And Rask is going to bite Jonah. So we're using grit to grit, which means the target is 5. We get 1d8. We need a 5 or better. So that's that bite. Just this Rask comes launching down the hallway, leaps into the air, and just totally tromps down on Jonah. And so we'll roll the location for 4 in the arm. So leaps up and Jonah blocks with the arm. Fortunately, Jonah has hide bracers there, no shield, but so 1 point of armor, and the bite does 1 point. So yeah, the armor like soaks this Rask's bite, and maybe it's like clinging to her arm as she's flailing. And next step, this Rask's gonna sneak underneath, like run underneath the legs and attack Sloane from behind. And here we're at a disadvantage. So we've got a grit of 1 with the Rask to 2 with Sloane, meaning we need a 6. So we're at a disadvantage and misses. And next Rask is going to advance and bite Sloane, needing a 6 for 1 success. And 5 is going to be in the body. So this Rask leaps up, bites, and just bounces off of Sloane's armor. And you're already getting a sense for how powerful armor is in this game. It does really make a big difference, especially with novice heroes. And all right, next up, we're gonna move in, needing that 6 and missing. In combat, your delve dice are fixed until the combat is resolved. So we don't update anything here until the combat ends, but we would reset back to, in this case, back to west. So Jonah's going to act next. Yeah, we're in pretty close proximity there. Maybe we'll pull out the quarterstaff and use our grit. So 1 to 1, we need a 5. We have edge because we're aligned with fate, so we need a 4. We're going to roll 1d8 for better. Oh, and look at that. So when you roll an 8 in this game, you're ripping. So that's 1 success. You re-roll 8s. So 2 successes, right? So even with 1 die, you can do some damage. So 2 successes is 1 additional damage, and the quarterstaff here does 2, so +1 is 3. We roll location, 6 is in the body. And so, yeah, Jonah winds up, takes a swat, wham, at this Rask, and just launches it into the wall, splat, for 3 damage. It loses its 3 guts. And again, we would track that for glory. That's first action. And here's the cool thing, right? We get 2. So we're going to target this Rask with our craft of darts, again, using Glim, we get 2 dice and only need 3s. So here we have an 8 and a 3, so that's 2 successes. We re-roll the 8 for 3 successes. And darts only do 1, but with +2 damage. Um, again, we don't roll location for Glim. It ignores armor. And so that's 3 damage straight up to this guy. And one sprint there. Yeah, Jonah did some damage. All right, next up is Sloan of the North and is going to take a swing with the old mace. And here we have 2 to 1, so we need a 4, 2 dice, 1 success, where 4 is going to be in the arms. So again, a sweep in the leg and with that mace. And the mace does 2 damage. So with no armor though, 2 minus 1, yeah, we got this guy is just barely hanging on. And our second attack, we're going to see if we can finish this guy off. Oh, so yeah, we rolled 2 ones. So we're going to re-roll these. If either come up a 1, then we crypt, which is the opposite of ripping. And in this case, we did not. But when a crypt occurs, typically that with a hand weapon, that's going to resolve and wear to your mace in this case. But yeah, that was just a bad miss. So Sloan takes a swing, just whiffs completely. These rasks are pretty quick. And so Arwen has visibility at this guy. We'll see this guy has cover because Sloan's moving around. And so we're going to say that's a slight disadvantage of drag. But we're going to use gate. So 2 to 2, we need a 5. With drag, that's a 6. We get 2 dice. And for 1 success and in the head, longbow is 3 damage. And with only 2 guts or 1 guts remaining, bingo, this guy is no longer of this realm. Finally, we've got this one lone Rask who's standing his ground, and yeah, he's gonna take a bite at Sloan. And with grit, we got 2 to 1. We needed a 6 there, and so missed. And yeah, then we come back to West. You get a sense for once you get a sense for how the rhythm of moving northeast, southwest, this game can move pretty quickly. And so, yeah, we're just going to use Glim. We need 3s with Fate for 2 successes. That's 2 damage. And we'll do that again for 2 more successes. And yeah, that ends and resolves that combat sprint. So the next thing we do as soon as we resolve combat is drop the hourglass. Our conditions in this case remain the same, but we also advance fate. So we move from west to north, which would activate Sloan, right? And I like to, again, north, east, south, west, just shuffle these the heroes advance. Probably Sloan's mace whiffing past that Rask clanged into the wall, alerting these Mingrin and the sentry standing in this hallway in the darkness, sees what's going on and alerts 5 minions who are protecting this armory in this expanded chamber. And we're going to flip a coin. In this case, we get no, meaning hostiles initiate. We still follow fate order, but when we get to south, if there were heroes of the south, with hostiles initiating, they would act before heroes. But in this case, Sloan is of the north, is aligned with fate with edge, and is going to advance and swing that mace. And in this case, we've got Sloan has got a grit of 2 to a grit of 1. So that would be a 4, moving to a 3 with edge, and 2 dice for 2 successes. And so that's 1 extra damage. We roll location. 7 is going to be in the body. And these guys do have a shield. And so that's going to soak 1 point of what would be 3 damage. So the mace does 2. We had 1 extra success. So that's 3 damage minus 1 for the shield. So 2 damage dealt here to this guy. And yeah, their guts are 4. So that's half. So that guy's hanging on, but that mace did its job there. So we're going to go north to east. So Arwen, in this case, is still peeking around this corner with the longbow. We've got, a range of 930. So for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we're still in range. Arwen's going to stand and take a shot at this guy using gate. And so here we have 2 to 2. Without edge, the target is 5. We roll 2 dice, and that shot just misses. And we're going to take a second. And boy, Arwen's having a bad day. Fortunately, the bowstring does not break. Yeah, this guy here, he's going to swing with a hand weapon. Great, 1 to 2. We're at a disadvantage and need a 6. And we're rolling 1d8. Missing. And this is where these guys get nasty. So we're going to use the ranged weapon here. So this guy's going to stand and shoot twice using a gate of 2 to a gate of 1. We only need a 4. So 2 dice for 4s, misses, second shot, 1 success, striking, and 2 is the legs. And yeah, 2 damage. So we have 1 point of armor, Sloan does, in the legs, but Sloan is going to take a Mingrin's arrow to the knee. Ah! Same. This guy's going to shoot. 1 success in the body. Armor's going to soak it. Next. Ooh. So when you roll a 1 and an 8, you're going to defer to ripping and ignore the crypt. So we have 1 success. And what did we say we needed? 4s. Is that 2? Yeah, so gate of 2 to a gate of 1. Yeah, so 2 successes, 1 extra damage. And again, in the legs, boy, yeah, these guys are shooting low. So that's 3 damage minus 1 for armor. 2 more damage. So Sloan is at 3, has taken 3 of her 5. Next up, same deal. Stand and fire. 1 success. This time in the body. Armor soaks it. 2 successes. This time in the body. And that's an additional point. Bingo. This guy's going to run around. Bing, bing. Advance here. This guy's going to move and attack. In this case, we've got grid of 1 to 2, and we need 6s for 1 dice. So that attack misses. And yeah, this guy is going to move and attack for 1 success. And again, hitting the low in the legs. The hand weapon does 1. The armor soaks it. So Sloan's okay, barely hanging on after that sprint. I think Sloan, being of the north, aligned with fate, is going to stand and fight. We're going to take a swing with that mace at this guy. We need 3s. Hopefully we roll a little better this round for 1 success. And that is going to be in the legs. There is no armor. And that's 3 damage, which is going to put this guy to rest. Then we're going to take a swing at this guy. Same thing. Again, we needed 3s, right, with fate. So that's 2 successes. And location is going to be in the body. They do have a shield. So we have, what, 2, 3 damage. The shield's going to soak one of them, and they're going to have 2. This guy's taken 2. So that's north. And from there, so we move to east. So it's R1's activated. We're gonna shoot at this guy. 2 to 2, we need a 5. Let's move this out of the way. 2 dice for 1 success in the head. And shield will block the head. But yeah, these guys only have 4 guts. Longbow is 3, -1 is 2, and that's enough to take this guy out. What that does, you can see now that opens up the space. So hopefully in Jonah's turn, we can move up and recover Sloan. This guy, we're going to move south, right? So north, east, south. This guy's going to stand and attack with the hand weapon. Grit of 1 to 2. We need a 6 and 1 potentially crypts. Reroll that. Nope. But misses wildly. And this guy's going to stand and shoot. Gate of 2 to a gate of 1. Yeah, the target is going to be a 4. So for 2 dice, that's 2 successes in the legs. Again, boy, these Mingren are really good at getting the legs. And so that's going to be 1 extra damage. So 3 to the legs. So 2 damage is enough to drop Sloan below 0. And she falls unconscious. And so here in our trusty rule book, we have some rules for deaths and unconscious. Guts can't fall below 0. Instead, if the subject's knocked down unconscious. And yeah, they can't defend, but they remain unconscious until an ally recovers them. They trial fate or take more damage. And if a warrior with 0 guts takes damage, they die. In the morale phase, we will roll a fate trial if no one is able to recover Sloan this sprint. So that's just a heads up on how that's on page, 60, 61. All right. So Sloan is down and 2 more Mingren. What are these guys going to do? We've got a range of 620. So I think we're going to shoot down the hallway. This guy, this guy's going to take a shot. It's going to be past, it's going to be at max range. It's in range, but it's going to drag because it's beyond 6. So we're going to roll gate of 2. This is at Sloan. Sloan's gate is 1. So there we would need a 4, but with drag, we need a 5. So first shot, 1 success in the body. And Sloan has got 2 points of armor there. And so, yeah, armor is going to absorb that. And second shot, 1 success in the body. Armor takes it. And the last guy is going to advance and take 1 shot. Ooh, missing. And does he crypt? Nope. All right. So Jonah is going to move, actually run in this case, up to Sloan and attempt a recovery. So we can do this because in this case, Jonah is not in reach of any combatant. And so with a recovery, that's a trial action. Recover. Use grip for 1 action, recover 1 damage or morale effect for self or ally. So Jonah's going to use grip of 1 against a target here of 5. So we need a 5 or better. Let's hope we make it. Nope. Bummer. We're going to take another action with angst. So that's the morale effect for Jonah, and attempt that again. All right, there we go. that bumps Sloan up to 1. She recovers. Actually, she's still not down, but is no longer unconscious. We need to do some morale here. So none of these guys have taken damage. They lost 2 of their 4. They haven't lost half, so they're fine. They're not broken, and unfortunately, we have one morale effect for Jonah for the action with angst, and so we need to resolve that by rolling grip. And again, against a target of 5, she succeeds. And so in this case, she recovers her morale, and all is well, back to north. And so Sloan is going to take a free action, stand up. It does require 1 action, but no trial. And because she's still within reach, to recover would have to break. And given she's still aligned with fate, she's going to stand and fight with 1 guts. Taking a swing at this guy. Again, we're using grit for the attack. So Sloan's grit is 2 to a grit of 1, making the target 4. So that's 1 success. In the legs, without armor there, this guy's going to take 2 from the mace. Sloan is going to take another swing with angst for 1 morale effect. For 1 success in the body. And the shield's going to soak 1 of those. And so this guy's going to take 1 more damage. Not quite enough to drop him. And that ends Sloan's turn. We move east to Arwen. Arwen is going to advance here. We're going to shoot. We're going to play offense, not defense. We're going to take this guy out. Yeah, Arwen's got a gate of 2 to a gate of 2. The target is 5. And with 2 dice, we need 5 or better. We got 1 success with the 8. We re-roll it. For 1 success, the location is in the body. That longbow does 3. And yeah, that's going to be enough. The shield's going to soak 1 of the 3, but these guys have 4 guts. And hasta la vista, baby. Now we move south. These Mingren are going to stand and fire. This guy did not like that shot. Is going to shoot at Arwen. Gate of 2 to 2 is a 5. So we need 5s. Rolling 2 dice for 2 successes. In the 5's in the body, right? Yeah. And so that's going to be, ranged is 2 plus 1 is 3. And Arwen has 2 points, so Arwen takes 1 point of that. Ugh. Same deal. This guy's going to shoot the same guy. Oh, wait. Second shot. My bad. Boy. See, we're rolling much better for the Mingren. That's 2 successes. We re-roll. 3 successes. In the head. Jeez. This guy really dialed in that shot. So, plus 2. So we got 4 damage in the head. Arwen's got a shield, which is going to soak 1. And so that's 3 damage. Arwen is taking it. All right. This guy is going to stand and shoot. Same deal. 2 to 2, we need 5s for 2 successes. And in the body, fortunately, no, that's an additional point with the additional success, which is 5. That drops Arwen unconscious. Got another hero down. Also, in case of tracking glory, when you lose guts, you should be tracking that in your journal as well, because you also get glory for taking damage and overcoming it. In this case, both Sloan and Arwen have taken a beating here. Yeah, he's going to stand and shoot at Sloan. So Again, we need 5s. Wait, no, in this case, 4s because a gate of 2, Sloan only has a gate of 1. So 4s, 1 success, and 4 is going to be in the arms. So 2 points in the arms with Sloan's got 2 points armor there. So yeah, her armor soaks that. And the second shot, again, we need 4s, 2 successes. So that's 1 extra damage. Again in the arms. So thunk thunk. And so Sloan, who only has 1 guts, also drops. So we can remove the morale effect. And half the party is down, more than half the party. So that's going to be a problem in the morale phase. So what we're going to do, Jonah's going to stand and what other glim do we have here? Yeah, we have fix. So we're going to use glim. Jonah's glim of 2 to Sloan's glim of 1. So we need 4s. So again, with an 8-1, we ignore the 1. The 8 is ripping. So that's 1 success. We need another 4. We got 1 success. So we heal Sloan by 1. She's still down, but conscious with 1 guts. We're going to also heal Arwen with fix. Same deal. Yeah, glim of 2 to 1. We need a 4 or better. So 1 success. So both of our heroes come back to 1 guts. Then we're going to take 1 action with angst to use darts against this guy. And again, we need, what's 2 to 1? We need 4s. We're going to roll 2 dice. Again, we ignore the 1, re-roll the 8. So that's 1 success, 2 successes. We're going to dole out 2 damage there. Thunk, thunk. Now we need to resolve morale. In this case, Jonah has 1 morale effect we need to resolve. So we're going to use, we're going to take a morale trial. And we do that with grip. So Jonah has a grip of 1, and we use the conditions die for the target. So we get 1d8 against a 5. We need a 5 or better to overcome. And in this case, we do not. And so we are going to experience some bad morale. And we roll on the page 45 here. We roll a d8. Oh, we got a 7. So, yeah. Now Jonah has become fearful. And I'm just going to leave that there. And with fearful, the subject is gripped with fear and may only break, move, or run away from hostile combatants until a morale trial is passed successfully next turn following sprint. Puts Jonah into a situation where they're not really able to advance and are only able to move away. So not good. It's not looking good for our heroes. These Mingren have really done a number with all those low bow shots. We do move north back to Sloan. Sloan stands their first action. We're still in reach here, and this guy's taken 2 points. So we're going to stand and swing that mace. So 2 to 1, we need 4s. Actually 3s with fate. For 1 success. Oh, we got to re-roll that 1. Okay, no crypt. Awesome. So 1 success. And a 3 is going to be what, in the arms? And so, yeah, this guy's going to take 1 more point. Ugh. Not quite enough to drop him. Yeah, we're gonna go for it. We're gonna take a morale effect, swing again. This time for 1 success. Again on the arms, which is enough to do it. Bingo. So these guys had 3. If they lose 1 more, then yeah, they're gonna have to trial morale as well. North to east, Arwen stands with 1 gut. Arwen is going to stand and shoot with the longbow of 2 to 2. We need 5s for 1 success. 3 is what, arms. And so that guy's going to take 2. move to the south. This guy is going to stand and shoot Sloan because he just dropped his buddy. 2-1. We need 4s for 1 success, 1 success, and 2 is going to be again in the legs, and that's going to be enough. So yeah, again, ranged weapon does 2. Sloan's only got 1 point of leg armor, and that's going to drop Sloan unconscious again. Can remove the morale effect. Second shot, it's going to go at Arwen. And in this case, what do we say? Yeah, in this case, we needed 5s. So that misses. Does the 1 crypt? Nope, it does not. And then this guy is going to shoot over Sloan at Jonah. And we have a gate of 2 to a gate of 1. So we need 4s. 2 successes. 6 is going to be what in the body. And so Jonah's going to take 1 damage. And then second shot. Wow, it misses. Lucky for our heroes. So Jonah is of the west, an axe last. And so in this case, we're going to recover Sloan. Glim of 2 to a glim. Glim of 2 to a glim of 1. We need 4s. 4, let's re-roll that. Okay, so for 1 success, which is enough to get Sloan back up to 1 and no longer unconscious. And yeah, we're going to darts this guy. So 2-1, we need 4s, 1 success, and that's going to do 1 damage. Bink. And yeah, now we got to do a morale trial here. So Jonah's grip is 1 against a target of 5. All right, we made it. Overcame that morale effect of fear. And yeah, we reset. We move back to north. Sloan stands for 1 action, and with no one within reach, finally Sloan can take an action to recover. And then again, that's a trial action made with grip. So we can use grip against the target of 5, and she does not succeed and continues bleeding with 1 guts. And in this case, we'll take the 1 morale effect to try that again. Because why not? Boy, does that crit? No. Now we move east. Arwen's going to stand and fire at this pesky guy who has done quite a lot of damage. 2-2, we need 5s. Again, we ignore the 1. That's 1 success. 1 success, and that's going to hit in the legs, which, yeah, that's enough to do that. Yeah, Arwen is then going to take 1 more action to try and recover Sloan using same deal with grip. So Arwen's got a grip of 1, needs a 5, succeeds. All right, so we can either overcome this morale effect with that recovery or recover 1 damage. So we're going to actually remove the effect. Yeah, we'll move south. So this guy is all alone. He's going to take 2 shots. And yeah, seeing Sloan just fall and repeatedly get up is going to stand and fire at Sloan. So 2-1, we need 4s. 1 success in the legs, of course, which is going to be enough to drop Sloan again. Wait, no, actually, no, that's right. She only had 1 guts. And with the next shot is actually just going to stand and fire over Sloan at Jonah, and same target, 2-1. Yeah, 2-1 needs 4s. And 1 potential success. Does it crypt? No. So 1 success, and 5 is going to be in the body. And Jonah's got 1 point of armor there, so Jonah's gonna take 1 more. Our hostiles, they began the sprint with 3. They're down to 1, and this guy is just gonna bail. This is covered in the rules here under beaten and broken. Yeah, if more than half the group is killed or unconscious by the end of the morale phase, they're beaten. So in this case, our Mingren are beaten soundly, and this guy scurries off, ending that combat. As soon as we end combat, we return to tours and we drop our hourglass and we advance fate. So we can move north to east. Whew! Those Mingren did a number on our heroes. Sloan is unconscious, and we've got Jonah bleeding out a little bit, but Arwen of the east is going to act first and take a few actions here. So Arwen's going to trial with edge to recover Sloan. So we need a 4 using grip. Does not succeed. Next attempt. Does not succeed. Next attempt. 1 success. All right. Finally, we get Sloan back to 1 guts. We're going to attempt the sands of the hourglass for haste. For 1 more attempt, which does not succeed. Yeah, then we would move west. And in this case, Jonah is going to use Glim and Fix to also recover Sloan. Because it's a rival action, we're going to use Glim of 2 to Sloan's Glim of 1, and we need 4s for 1 success. So we've got Sloan back up to 2. Then also heal ourselves. We'll do it here where you can see. Yeah, for 2 successes, and that's enough to heal up Jonah. So then we move north. Sloan has 2 guts, can stand up and attempt a recovery for 1 success. And 1 more. Failing. We can move the Mingren here. Yeah, so we've healed up a little bit. We spent the whole tour just getting patched up. We did tempt the sands with haste. So in this case, we take that D8 for that 1 hasty action. We re-roll it. If we roll a 1, no, we succeeded. But in the event we had rolled a 1, we would have dropped the hourglass again. That completes that tour. So, bingo, we dropped to 5. Northeast, south. And that's going to activate Jonah of the west. We don't have a player of the south. So west is next. Jonah's going to heal Sloan for 2 successes, rerolling the 8, 3 successes, 4 successes, which is going to patch Sloan up just fine. And then move for 2nd action and search as a trial. Using search uses grip. So we're going to use grip of 1. We need a 5 or better. Oh, and we rolled an 8 for 1 success, 2 successes. And it looks like we've unlocked an item of interest from this weapons rack here. So here on page 83, we have this handy items table, and we roll 3d8. So 12, 17. We found some medicine. 13, and a light weapon. And we'll roll 1 more for the 2 successes. What are we at? 13, 22, and a shield. So yeah, light weapon, medicine, and shield. And let's roll up some features. We're just gonna choose one because the extra success. I think we're gonna say, yeah, there's something radiant about this shield that that just seems sort of remarkable, and it also seems appropriate that Jonah was drawn to it and found it. So this would be something to put in the journal. But we've got. I'm gonna grab our map here and make a few notes on the side. So we found a light weapon, medicine, and a radiant shield. Cool. North. So Sloan is gonna move up here and probably take the shield. Let's see if yeah, let's do a little role play. So what have you found, Jonah? And is going to use grip to attempt to influence Sloan uh to hand the shield over, given that well, Sloan is our shield maiden here. So we've got a grip of 1 against a grip of 1. And so the target is going to be 5, and we roll 1d8 to influence. And in this case, Sloan is unsuccessful. Jonah's like, well, I don't think I should hand this over yet until I'm able to spend some time with it and understand its radiance. It's got some sort of mystical property. It might be cursed or hexed. Jonah retains the radiant shield. Sloan took an action there to attempt to influence, and Arwen's going to move in, and we're just going to kind of prepare ourselves. Arwen's going to advance up to this door. All right, we're going to drop the sands by 1. We're going to advance fate from south to west. That means Jonah's activated first. Jonah's going to move to this door and open it. As this doorway opens, the foul, acrid stench just becomes overpowering, and the hallways are coated with silt and slime and mold, and difficulty of this space definitely is tough. Jonah's going to continue down this hallway. This area, has fallen into ruin and has begun to collapse. And there's all of this rubble blocking access, which is why route has been infiltrated by vermin. So the heroes set forth to clear this passage. We're going to see if we can use some grit and some elbow grease, some blood, sweat, and tears to begin clearing this passageway. We're going to roll a d8 and see how many successes it's going to take to clear this. So we're going to say 5. So Jonah is going to roll up the robes and with grit use 1 dice against the 6 to try and clear some of this rubble out of the way. And yeah, not succeeding with the first attempt and potentially getting injured here. No, Jonah just sort of is weary and tired and sits down after trying to move some of this rubble. And we would move then from west to north, and Sloan is going to advance and attempt with grit of 2. Grit of 2. Sloan's got a little bit more inner for this kind of work, and we need a target of 6. So we're going to roll. Our first action does not succeed. Boy, this is a tough rubble pile. The second, we get 1 success. So we're going to drop this to 4. And so we've made it a bit of the way through here. And then Arwen is also going to advance and squeak in here and make a couple attempts. So no success against a 6. And maybe potentially injured. Yeah, look at that. So as Arwen is attempting to clear rubble, stumbles and trips, and we're going to say takes 2 damage to a location, turns her ankle badly, rolling location for that, and takes 2 damage trying to clear this this hazard out of. This is clearly dangerous work. And as the heroes continue right? The clock ticks. And we're going to move back to north. Sloan is going to take 3 actions with grit, working at this for 1 success, potentially. See if we injured. Nope. So we get 1 success. Second attempt for 1 success, 2 successes. Wow. Sloan is bringing it. And with the final attempt, gets it done. Get her done, Sloan. And with that, access has been cleared. The tours can continue. And what do we see? Another winding hallway. Yeah, this would be as yeah, Arwen turns the corner, has visibility through this rubble pile. And of course, as the rubble gets cleared, the air starts flowing and moving with the doors open. Like suddenly the conditions seem to improve a little bit. And we drop back to normal. The heroes feel accomplished in their progress so far, having purged the inhabitants so far and cleared this debris and this decay that had collapsed in on this corridor, are immediately met with an unfriendly face in a sentry on the other side.